Xi Jinping underscores the Communist Party's leadership during a speech marking 40 years of reform and opening up. HMV to wind up its local retail chain. And Theresa May will bring her Brexit deal back to Parliament for a mid-January vote, while the Labour Party pushes a no-confidence vote in the Prime Minister.
Hello and a very good evening. President Xi Jinping today called for the unswerving implementation of reforms amid challenges and tempestuous storms ahead. That comes as the country marked the 40th anniversary of its reform and opening up. Sharon Tang reports.
A special gathering at the Great Hall of the People in Beijing this morning to mark 40 years of reform and opening up in China. Among the state leaders present were President Xi Jinping, Premier Li Keqiang and other Politburo Standing Committee members. In a speech that lasted an hour and a half, President Xi spared no praise for the country's former leaders.
Deng
Xiaoping and the elder architects of changes have saved China from the brink of economic collapse following the tumultuous Cultural Revolution, he said. 40 years ago today, the country's leaders decided to move away from a planned economy when basic goods were rationed and often scarce. This morning, enumerating the accomplishments of China's development, Xi said China's gross domestic product has leaped from some 368 billion yuan to more than 80 trillion yuan in 40 years' time. China has become the world's second largest economy. It's also the world's largest trading nation and manufacturer. Xi also reaffirmed the ruling Communist Party's leadership in all aspects of society. He also said reforms should be in line with the overall goal of improving the socialist system with Chinese characteristics. Opening brings progress while closure leads to backwardness. In future, we will be inevitably faced with all sorts of risks and challenges, he added. During today's ceremony, 100 individuals were recognized as pioneers of reform. 5 of them are from Hong Kong and Macau, including entrepreneur Zheng Hinchi and former Director General of the World Health Organization, Margaret Chan. That also includes founders of 3 tech giants, Alibaba, Tencent and Baidu. 10 foreigners were also honored for their roles in China's reform and opening up, including the late former Prime Minister of Singapore, Lee Kuan Yew. Sharon Tang, TVB News.
The city's largest CD retailer, HMV, is to wind up its retail chain. All 7 local HMV stores remained closed today. The decision came after the chain's debt rose to around $40 million. Christy Leung with this story.
Browsing racks of CDs may soon be history. HMV Digital China Group announced today it will voluntarily wind up its subsidiary HMV Retail. With all its 7 local branches closed down, some 70 employees were immediately laid off. It is in stark contrast to the better days when HMV entered the Hong Kong market 25 years ago. This radio show host recalled the long queues of customers and disc jockeys performing as the chain's Tsim Sha Tsui branch. The company is now seeking investors as it enters liquidation with around $40 million in debt. In recent years, HMV shifted its business focus to the sales of earphones and other lifestyle products.
They even operate a restaurant. As you walk into the HMV, it's not only a CD shops, it's not only a DVD shops anymore. When the music lover, they hold on the physical product, they feel something on their hands.
Besides competition from online streaming, the retail arm also faces lawsuits over late rent payments as it failed to generate sufficient revenue to cover operating costs. Founded in 1921, HMV Retail's head office in the UK closed down all its branches worldwide in 2013, while the Hong Kong operation was sold to businessman Stephen Hsu Jr. Christy Leung, TVB News.
Japan is making a major commitment to its defense capabilities and accelerating spending on advanced stealth fighters and missiles to keep up with regional powers. Some $240 billion will be spent as part of the proposal over the next 5 years. Prime Minister Shinzo Abe's cabinet approved guidelines to boost the country's capabilities in the Pacific in the face of China's rising strength and fears about North Korea. Japan plans to buy 45 US-made F-35 stealth fighters in addition to the 42 jets already on order. The Maritime Self-Defense Force's 2 large helicopter carriers will be modified for F-35B operations. Long-range missiles and other equipment will also be added to the country's arsenal. Some people criticise the plan, saying it goes against Japan's exclusively defence-orientated policy.
At least 6 people have been killed and more than 100 others injured after a fire broke out in Mumbai on Monday. Smoke could be seen billowing into the air from a 5-story hospital in the Indian city. More than a dozen ambulances had to take some people hurt in the blaze to other nearby medical clinics. Most of the injured were said to be in stable condition. The fire is believed to have been caused by an electrical short circuit.
Well, it was another acrimonious day in British politics. Prime Minister Theresa May has set a parliamentary vote on her Brexit deal for the middle of January, but she faces increased pressure to get it done sooner. Peter Caveas tells us more.
Embattled British Prime Minister Theresa May set a deadline of the week of January 14th for Parliament to vote on her Brexit deal. That is more than a month since the original vote was scheduled to take place. That was delayed when it became clear lawmakers would overwhelmingly reject it. May continues to preach her deal is the best option for leaving the EU.
I know this is not everyone's perfect deal, it is a compromise. But if we let the perfect be the enemy of the good, then we risk leaving the EU with no deal.
A no-deal Brexit is seen as a worst-case scenario that could damage the UK economy. The opposition wants the vote to occur before the Christmas break. The leader of the main opposition party accused May of leading the country into crisis.
Mr. Speaker, as the only way I can think of ensuring a vote takes place this week, I am about to table a motion which says the following: that this House has no confidence in the Prime Minister due to her failure to allow the House of Commons to have a meaningful vote straight away on the withdrawal agreement and framework for future relationships between the UK and the European Union. And that will be tabled immediately, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Losing the vote on such a motion would increase the pressure on May, but unlike a no-confidence vote in the government as a whole, it wouldn't trigger a process leading to the fall of the government in an early election. The move comes just 1 week after May survived a leadership challenge from within her own party. Now a growing number of politicians are calling for a second referendum. May has rejected that idea, saying it would violate voters' trust in democracy. The UK's official exit from the EU is set for March 29th. Peter Caveos, TVB News.
A top US diplomat in Geneva is using a review of America's trade policy to criticize forced technology transfer and a heavily skewed playing field in China. Dennis Shear, the US ambassador to the World Trade Organization, said criticism of America's unilateralist and protectionist approach was mistaken. Shear insists America only wants to reform the global trading system to make it fairer. So at Monday's WTO review of US policies, Shear lashed out at China's state-led mercantilist approach to the economy and trade. But his Chinese counterpart hit back. Chinese ambassador Zhang Xiangchen said President Donald Trump's tariff increases on steel and aluminium are based on dubious national security concerns. He also slammed the US for blocking appointments to the WTO's appeals body. Former FBI Director James Comey says he's disgusted with Republicans who continue to believe President Donald Trump's lies about the FBI. This comes after Comey's second closed-door meeting with Republican committees investigating bias at the Justice Department before the 2016 presidential election. Republicans argue department officials conspired against Donald Trump when they aggressively investigated Trump's ties to Russia. However, they quickly cleared Democrat Hillary Clinton of an email scandal that Comey calls another Trump lie.
So another day of Hillary Clinton's emails and the Steele dossier. This while the President of the United States is lying about the FBI, attacking the FBI, and attacking the rule of law in this country. How does that make any sense at all? The President of the United States calling a witness who has cooperated with his own Justice Department a rat. Say that again to yourself at home and remind yourself where we have ended up. This is not about Republicans and Democrats. This is about what does it mean to be an American?
Justice prevails as the word of the year for 2018. With more on that, on the reason why, is Sonia Artero.
This includes racial justice, social justice, economic justice, and criminal justice.
The testimony you are about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you God.
This year's news had many stories involving the branch of government responsible for the enforcement of laws, the Department of Justice. It's sometimes just referred to as justice, including in President Trump's tweets.
The surge was triggered by specific uses of the word, such as obstruction of justice, which President Donald Trump was passionate about.
The term obstruction of justice spiked on August 1st, the day that President Trump tweeted his wish for Attorney General Jeff Sessions to stop the Mueller investigation.
Then there's poetic justice. That was exhibited when President Trump named and shamed certain media for reporting fake news and slammed those probing to determine if his administration colluded with Russia to win the 2016 election.
Fake news and the Russian witch hunt. We got a whole big combination. Where is the collusion? You know, they're still looking for collusion. Where is the collusion?
And this is an example of miscarriage of justice when Trump's U.S. Supreme Court nominee insisted a woman wrongly accused him of sexual assault.
In late September, justice as a synonym or title for a judge spiked during the Kavanaugh Supreme Court hearings.
If every American who drinks beer or every American who drank beer in high school is suddenly presumed guilty of sexual assault, we'll be in an ugly new place in this country.
Justice is a word at the heart of many issues in our society. Through the dictionary, we can make these connections with words that tell us something about our culture, our language, and ourselves.
In summary, it would be a travesty of justice if we didn't have a dictionary to understand the many meanings of justice. Sonia Artero, TVB News.
And still ahead on the news tonight, the University of Hong Kong Shenzhen Hospital apologises for the death of a newborn baby. Police arrest 2 for trying to scam drivers in fake accidents. And CBS denies its former CEO, accused of sexual harassment, his severance package. Welcome back to TVB News. The University of Hong Kong Shenzhen Hospital has apologised for the death of a newborn baby. As Christy Lung reports, it promised compensation to the affected family.
In an open letter posted on Weibo, the University of Hong Kong Shenzhen Hospital says the pregnant woman was admitted to the hospital during the early hours of July 23rd. She had a prolonged second stage of labour, and this caused injuries to the infant. At 8 p.m. on the same day, the infant was transferred to the hospital's neonatal intensive care unit, but was certified dead about 4 hours later. After the incident, the hospital contacted the affected women and suggested that a third party be approached to look into the case. As reported by the mainland news media, the third party's report confirmed that the baby's scalp was seriously injured. Amniotic fluid was also found in the newborn's lung, leading to function failure of the infant's central nervous system. The report also pointed out that the medical assessment was inaccurate. The medical staff used a vacuum extractor twice to assist the delivery, but without success. They then decided to perform C-section, but the process was handled improperly, which is related to the infant's death. The hospital chief Dr. Lo Chung-mel apologized for the medical blunder and promised compensation to the affected family. He added that the medical staff involved have been suspended from certain duties, while a probe into the case is underway. Christy Leung, TVB News.
Police arrested 2 people who may have tried to scam drivers by pretending they were hit by the vehicles. Police started their investigation after receiving a complaint 10 days ago. The male suspect might have also been involved in 3 similar cases in Mongkok, Yau Ma Tei and Sham Shui Po. He's said to have attempted but failed to cheat drivers out of several $100s in medical fees after pretending he was knocked down.
Core members of the city's anti-corruption body stress they have not left any stone unturned when asked about their probe into Hong Kong's former leader. Chow Chung-kong elaborated further. The chairman of the ICAC's Advisory Committee on Corruption said questions surrounding Leung Chun-ying's case have a presumption of guilt. His fellow members said the team exhausted all methods in the past 4 years to investigate the former CE. Its investigation report on Leung Chun-ying's alleged corruption and misconduct in public office stemmed from a $50 million payment from Australian firm UGL. Part of that was not declared after he took office as the city's top leader.
The man suspected of throwing money off a building last weekend was today released on bail. This 24-year-old suspect is required to report back to police at the end of next month. He was arrested on Sunday after driving a race car to Sham Shui Po with stacks of cash. This follows an incident the day before where pedestrians in Sham Shui Po went wild as they rushed to collect money that was being tossed from a building.
A key witness testified at the inquiry into shoddy works on the Sha Tin to Central rail link. Pinky Wong has more.
Kevin Harmon gave his account at today's inquiry. He's the quality and environmental manager at Leighton, the main contractor of the Sha Tin to Central link. Harmon revealed 2 quality supervision plans were audited upon the MTRC's request. Leading counsel of the commission, Ian Pennicott, asked if the forms were sufficient to show that proper inspection was carried out on slab reinforcement and the couplers at Hong Kong Station. Harmon agreed. Then Bonnie Chang, who represents the government, brought up the alleged bar-cutting incident in December 2015. She highlighted a non-conformance report Kevin Harmon produced for subcontractor Fang Shen. While Harmon said that was the first event, Chang doubted how no one figured out the cause, as it would be virtually impossible to detect and rectify the problem once rebar fixing work was done with concrete poured over. Harmon admitted poor communication between teams, but concluded allegations of bar cutting weren't credible. He said the procedure would have been detected under current supervision and inspection systems. Buildings Department Director Chang Tin Chang also took to the stand today. He confirmed every single amendment in the MTRC management plan requires his department's approval. That's the protocol, as all design changes must be known before commencing construction. Another member of the buildings department will be called to give evidence tomorrow. Pinky Wong, TVB News.
Les Moonves was already ousted as the chief of CBS, and now the network is denying him a $120 million severance package. This comes on the heels of the Me Too movement that led numerous women to accuse Moonves of sexual misconduct. After a 5-month probe, CBS says it found grounds to terminate the former CEO. The network determined Moonves tried to cover up his past behavior of non-consensual sexual misconduct involving 17 women. In addition to Moonves, 2 other major CBS figures also lost their jobs due to sexual misconduct. They include news anchor Charlie Rose and 60 Minutes executive Jeff Vega. Moonves claims every accuser consented to sex, and these latest findings are meritless. That's the news.